Vlog 05, Time Travel and Meeting Entities in Another Realm. Yes, I know how interesting and crazy that title sounds, so if this video isn't for you, if you don't like hearing about time travel or entities and aliens, then you might not want to stick around. But as you know, this is the Tell-All Vlog series, where I tell different events and experiences of my life, from the past to modern day, so you can see what developed my current framework and thinking regarding magic, flat earth, reality, and etc. So, to start off, I could have made this into 2 videos, but the main subject is going to be when I met these entities in another reality and dealing with time. But I'll give you a quick precursor, prologue that led to this. A few years ago, I was binge watching on Netflix, watching a show called Heroes. Most of you should be familiar with that, maybe, but it's an okay show. Anyways, there's a character on there, his name is Hero, and he can alter time, time travel, pause time, rewind, he can travel through time. Being motivated and having the past time experiences that I've already had as a child till now that I'll probably go in another video, I decided, let me try if I can alter time. So I looked to see what the clock was first, and I entered into a meditation I developed. And when I came out, there's like a 15-minute difference. The clock, it was like 3 a.m. before I went in, and when I came out, it was like 2:45. This was a few years ago, and I believe that's the time that it was. When I was like, oh my goodness, am I going crazy? So I looked at the phone, internet, clocks around the house, and everything was different. So I don't know if, did I alter just the electronics in the house, or did I actually travel through time? I know lots of times with alien experiences or abduction reports, people report losing time. So who knows if that could have happened, and you might be able to tie that into another theory I mentioned into the Tell-All Vlog, where I spoke of the alien encounters. But anyways, so let's fast forward now. Okay, so I'm laying in my bed, and to start this off, when this originally happened, I was like, what's going on, So I'm laying on my bed, and next thing I know, I find myself in another realm. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think I fell asleep, but you'll see as the story goes on. So I'm lying in my bed, and next thing I know, I wake up. I appear in a whole completely different location. This is a desert. It's like a desert world, and I'm walking. There's ancient ruins, there's columns. It looks like a mixture of Greek architecture and Egyptian as far as I can see. So I'm walking. I find this pool-like area, and this being walks up to me. It's a male. His skin's a light blue. He's a bluish color. He looks like a human, but he's blue. Nice, sharp, angled features. Like pretty much, like he was a good-looking guy, and like it's hard to describe what he looked like, but he was humanish, but he looked like what you would deem as like a flawless-looking human, and like I said, he had bluish skin, and his hair was a white color. He came up to me and he said, "Get into the pool, clean yourself off before you come in." And I said, "I can't swim. I can't get in there." He said, "It's fine. If you go in, you'll be okay." I was like, "But I can't swim." He's like, "It's alright. Just go into the pool so you can clean yourself off before coming into the sanctuary, and you will not drown." So I said, okay. I trusted him, and I went into the water, and surprisingly, I didn't drown. And like back here in real world, I didn't know how to swim, but when I got into the pool, I didn't drown, didn't do anything negative. I got out. Afterwards, I followed him into the structure, to this temple-like sanctuary, and he asked me, he said, "Could you wait right here? We'll call you when it's time to come in." And now, it was like a mixture of Japanese architecture, because they had the sliding screen doors, and overall, this whole time, it was like a blend of like European, Egyptian, Greek, a little bit of Asian architecture. That's the best way I can describe it. So I'm sitting there waiting on this mat, and I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. I hear 2 voices speaking. There's a male voice and a feminine voice, and they call me in. When I go in, there's another entity who looks similar to him, but it's a female. Again, this is like what you would deem as like a flawless looking female humanoid form, but she had blue skin, a lightish blue, gentle skin, and whitish color hair. And they came and they talked to me, and I was talking to them and they're telling me about my plans. They knew various things, and they told me at that time, you know, the cure for cancer and diseases and all the different various ailments of mankind and what caused it. They're telling me about being on a natural plant-based diet and lifestyle and being in tune with nature and how you can heal any ailment and any problem within nature. There's always a problem. If the problem arises, the problem can be cured by nature, and we spoke of many different things. And this was even before I became a vegan, so this is before I even knew all the wonderful benefits that plant-based diets and natural remedies were. You know, I knew, you can say, of certain, like, sure, there's things, but I didn't know to the extent I know now, or when they're telling me how there is natural remedies in nature. They also discussed with me my various plans and what I wanted to do, and they told me that I had to go about it a slightly different way. And they said that I had to share information and tell people different events and key things before I tried to do what I wanted to do and cover certain topics. You know, I won't get into all that right now because lots of it was kind of personal. Even though this is a tell-all vlog, I am sharing my personal events and stories. Just some of these things doesn't really matter at this point. Pretty much they just talk to me about my different plans and how I need to share information and put it out there. So that's another reason why I'm putting this information out here now, even though some time has passed and I'm not living in paranoia and fear of what happens if people find out. Anyways, so while we're talking about various things pertaining to life and healing, you know, they end up talking about this one entity who you can't mention his name. He came up in the conversation, and I said, why can't you mention his name? And they said, if you mention his name, he instantly will summon to the location. He'll hear you, he'll see you, and he's not of a good type. And you know, the curiosity was getting the better of me, so I kept on pestering and being like, why? I want to know what's the name. And the brother, because there's two, the male and the female, they were brother and sister, these entities. And like I said, at the time, like, the best way to describe them is how I did. The best way to give you a representation of what they look like is not exactly, but similar to Whis or Vados from Dragon Ball Super. Now, at the time of this experience, Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods did not exist. It wasn't a manga, it wasn't a promotional material. There's nothing. I never seen any entities like this with the light blue skin, you know, the white hair, looking like Kais, you know, bluish elves almost, but tall. So the best way to describe it, these entities look like a Kai, and this world could have been like a Kai's world. But like I said, they weren't Kais, and I don't even know what Whis or Vados is in Dragon Ball Super. I'll put an image of them on the screen so you can see how close, or something similar, so you can kind of get a visual representation of what they look like. But like I said, at the time when I met these entities, I didn't know anything about that, and those things didn't exist at the time. And even in the show, which I'm going to point and put the images of them on there, it hasn't really been described or explained what those entities are, so it's similar, and it's interesting why I even had an experience with them. And I had another experience with something else that had a tie into that, but I'll describe that anyway, and also that's another reason why you see me in this. But anyways, to go on, they're talking about this entity who you can't say his name, and I kept pestering him like, okay, I'm curious, what is the name? And the female one, she kind of had like an attitude, a sass to her, and she's like, well, if you want to know the name, I'm just going to say it. And the brother's like, no, don't say it. He don't say the name. And she's like, no, he wants to know. She started getting an attitude, so I'm just going to say the name. And she said, I'm not worried about it. She said the name, and as soon as she said the name, there was this loud roar, like this loud roar vibration noise, and I could see like this other entity, this older, elongated face, mouth really stretched, and he had a wrinkly face, a black kind of cloak, a grayish white pasty pale skin, and he was roaring. It was like, roar, like this huge loud roar and vibration, and instantly he appeared there, and he just attacked that brother and sister, and like they're fighting and battling, and I'm sitting there at the side just looking blown away, totally stunned. I'm like, I don't know who these entities are, what's going on. I mean, they seem like they're in a whole nother league can I even help that? I'm like, I can't just be a bum and a scrub sitting on the sidelines while this guy's putting in work. So I'm like, okay, well, here we go. So I went running, and I like tackled into that creature that came, who was roaring. And as I tackled him, we fell into this type of portal. And as we fell into this portal, we're going through different dimensions and locations, one of the main locations being a house that I lived in when I was a child. And we're in this home, and we're fighting and battling, you know, punching, kicking, you know, various like grappling MMA type of stuff, and just like fighting each other. And then eventually he threw me into another portal, and like I fell down, and I was in a completely different location, and there was these 3 sisters there. And these 3 sisters like, ah, good, you finally made it. And I was like, I was in the middle of a battle, where am I? I was like, help me, what's going on? They're like, we need your help anyway. We know you have the ability to travel through time, so if you help us, we can definitely help you. You know, we don't have much time. And they explained to me that entity killed their brother, and they said, we need your help to travel through time so we can try to save our brother's life. And if we save him, we'll have a better chance at thwarting this entity. So I said, you know what, why not? I'll help you. We travel through time to where these 3 sisters' brothers was at, because in the past that entity killed him when he was like using the bathroom in this one strange location. So we went there, and we saved him and warned him and got him out of there before he came. But since we traveled back through time, that's when that entity was coming to kill him. And these 3 sisters, you know, and the brother, we were all trying to fight and battle this guy. But he ended up coming right towards me. He grabbed me like I was nothing, and just tossed me through another portal. And as he tossed me through the portal, and he was like, he just threw me down, I fell through the portal and slammed back on my bed. At this moment, I was thinking to myself, wow, that was incredible. Was that just an extremely, you know, vivid dream? Because I've had dreams, you know, within a dream before. I've had crazy, you can say, I guess, astral-like experiences. Even though in that place I was wearing the exact same outfit I was laying in my bed or fell asleep in. So I was like, maybe it was just a cool dream. I won't think nothing of it. Later on, some time passed, I'm outside with my dog, walking the dog. Well, he's not exactly my dog, but it was the family's dog, and I was walking him at that time. And we're outside, and I see a car drive by. So just normally I look up to see what car's driving by, and like as the car drives by, there's someone who turns around like this and gives the creepiest smile that there's ever been. It was that same entity whose name can't be said, or he'll come to you. And at this present day, I cannot remember that name at all, no matter what. It's like a complete blank, like it's been erased. Like I know I've seen him, but I can't even think of the name. But anyway, this entity, he was driving some car, and he drove past the house, and his head turned, and he was like, and he gave me like this creepy smile. And at that moment when I saw him, it was like my insides like almost shattered, and like it was a sense of fear, wonderment, confusion, and like I didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh my goodness, that was real. And he kept on driving, and like I was just stunned, you know. If that ever happened again, I would chase him or find him and go sprinting after him. But at that time I was just stunned in my place, and this was years ago, before I am like where I am now. And when I went back in the house, my brother was like, are you okay? He was like, what's wrong? He was like, you look like you just seen a ghost. And I was like, dude, you're not gonna believe it if I told you. And I ended up telling him the whole experience again. So another thing how I know that wasn't just a dream is because I saw him drive by the house. The second part, which is weird, remember those 3 sisters I told you about? Well, I ended up seeing one of those sisters in this world. She didn't know of that experience, and I didn't share or tell her of it until quite some time after. But I saw her, and we ended up communicating, and we ended up becoming really cool and close. And we had many good times, and obviously there's bad times as well. And like my main motivation was thinking, like, if she's from that realm or that time travel, there has to be something important or special about her as well. And she had interesting abilities too with utilizing her mind to influence reality. And I'm not going to reveal any names because for privacy and stuff, and don't want to give anything out like that. Who knows if someone could ever come across this? Who knows them? And I don't want to give any hassles. But yeah, we were really close and got cool. But to make a long story short, when I eventually met her mother had a had a feature that matched one of the sisters from that dream, right? From that experience. But to me, it's no longer a dream. I consider it an actual reality, bending reality, different alternate place. And that one of the sisters, because there was 3 sisters, and like they were warriors, and they had abilities, and they had a brother, and we saved them. One of the sisters had a scar on her neck, like a really serious scar, like the type of scar you can't just cover up with makeup. I mean, makeup's good, so you can cover anything up, but she had a distinct scar on her neck. When I met this girl's mother, she had the exact same scar on her neck. And I was blown away, I was freaking out, and I wanted to talk to her, but I didn't want to be that rude person because it's like, well, it's like the first time I'm hanging out and meeting this mom. I'm not trying to just come out and ask them something personal about their neck. You know, as time went on, I got closer with that girl I told you about, who was one of those 3 sisters, and her mother was one of them as well. I eventually told her this whole event and this experience, and then when I went to go see if the mother had the scar on her neck, she no longer had the scar on her neck. So I don't know what happened there. You know, we are dealing with time. Could have been a Mandela effect. I don't know. But yeah, again, like, and who knows, as time went on, I started to think, you know, perhaps that girl was an agent, you know, because there's some suspicious family ties that I was told, with connections to the powers that be and different military relationships. So who knows? And like I said, there was great times and things like that, but there was some extremely negative ones, you know, where I was drained emotionally and financially. But overall, I would never change anything, even if I could go back through time again, because I think it's a wonderful experience. It helped me learn many different things about the system, and, you know, working hard and slaving for someone else's sake. And it was just a great experience, to sum it up. But oh, and then recently when I was talking to my cousin, he was telling me perhaps when I had that experience, they were showing me that even though I was going to try to save this group, it would still all be for nothing, since I ended up getting thrown back into my bed by that entity. But anyways, at that time I didn't know, had to try anyway, and it's another long story of the different negative things and positive that happened with that connection. You know, from things, I won't even get into it right now, but if I ever do, this is the group, or this is the people that I will be referring to. So again, so that was the time that there was time travel, and I met these other entities in another realm. As far as seeing those blue skin entities, again, the guides, whatever you want to call them, the next time I saw one of them was a time where I was saved or given proper information to escape a time loop. But that'll be the next one. I'll talk about a time loop. I saw them then, and I also saw the entity after, like, while doing a Christina Martine workshop of connecting with your guides. So that's interesting how I got to connect and see that individual again. So I'll end it here because it looks like I've already been going 19 minutes. So we'll keep it under 24, standard length of a normal episode. So that was the time I traveled to another reality, another realm, a world, met with some entities, and time travel. The next one will be about the time I was in a time loop, another time travel experience, and I'll elaborate on those other events. And if you like hearing stuff like this, subscribe, because there's plenty of more events and experiences that I can tell that has happened to me. Subscribe, and also in the comments below, let me know your theories on what those entities were and what location did they transport me to. Where was that place? And who were they? I want to hear all your theories in the comments below. Alright, thanks. This is another tell-all vlog. for Dragon Star Alchemy. Muscle Dragon, signing out. Till next time.